Hello, kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast right through until Sunday, recorded on Monday, the 20th of October. Let's have a look at the satellite imagery today and a lot of thunderstorm activity from Western Australia to South Australia, the southwest corner of the Northern Territory, and spilling over into Victoria as we go through today, maybe even a little bit into New South Wales, as this line of convergence moves along, bringing a narrow area of rain. So further north or south, you may not get a lot, but if you're right underneath that line of wet weather, some of those rainfall totals could be quite helpful for those of you that still need rain. Further northwards, pretty dry around Queensland, a big chunk of New South Wales for now. And we've also got low pressure spinning in the southwest corner. In fact, a couple of low pressure zones there kind of merging together, and that's also producing a few thunderstorms around Perth, Bunbury area as we go through this morning. So let's have a look at the situation. You can see those two lows right here in the southwest, but really much of Australia under lower pressure at the moment. Not necessarily a spinning low, but lower air pressure in the dark purple shading. So that just means those thunderstorms you're seeing, it increases the chance of instability. So you get a higher chance of getting a thunderstorm or a downpour when you've got lower air pressure like that. So the big protective highs that keep it dry and calm offshore over the Indian Ocean and well east even of New Zealand at the moment. That's why we're seeing all that sinking low pressure plus all that tropical heat, which is also sinking southwards for a time, but we've still got spring weather conditions carrying on in the south here, as you're going to see in the coming up maps. So we kick off with a wind map for this afternoon. 2 o'clock Eastern time over Tasmania, a big storm well south of Australia, driving in these very windy westerlies. So the purple shading, the darker shading, showing gusts of over 100 kilometres an hour potentially this afternoon. That does affect around Hobart, Lonnie, other populated areas, mainly in the more exposed places. You'll know which ones those are in a westerly, but that is the setup for you going into this afternoon. So a windy day for Tasmania. Eases back to some degree on Tuesday though, and the next big low pressure zone is now over South Australia, drifting from Western Australia eastwards. And we've got that line of convergence going right back up into northern parts of Western Australia. So we've got the red boundary. North of that, it's hot and tropical. South of that, there is a southerly flow coming in around the Indian Ocean high. So temperatures will start to drop along the southern coastline, moving into South Australia. But South Australia on Tuesday has hot wind on one side, cooler winds on the other. So thunderstorms are looking highly likely. And some of those downpours may be in more populated areas as well as we go through Tuesday. Perhaps not so much into northern parts of South Australia. We've got low pressure in New South Wales. See the red tropical boundary? It is being pulled to the southeast, being pulled down towards Sydney. And so you're going to feel the heat. If you don't feel it already, you'll be feeling it as we go through into tomorrow, Tuesday, as a result of that setup and a hot day across Queensland, although mostly dry for you, only a couple of isolated showers. Really, it looks very dry for Queensland through Tuesday and through Wednesday as well. But look at the red line, the tropical boundary being punched out to sea close to Lord Howe Island. But if you come down sort of around the Sydney area, you'll notice that the winds are actually coming in from the south to southwest, which means we've got some very hot weather pushing into Sydney and other areas around New South Wales over the next 24 hours. And then once we reach Wednesday morning, in comes the southerly and the temperatures drop. And we'll see that heavy rain around the mountains. And as you go right down to the coastline, damaging potentially southerly winds, mostly here into Victoria on the coastal south as we go through Wednesday. There is low pressure in Bass Strait and high pressure building around Western Australia. So this is a classic squash zone here being dredged out of the Southern Ocean. Temperatures will be down. At this stage, Victoria doesn't see a huge amount of rain. The maps have moved a wee bit. For those who wanted rain, that's a bit unfortunate. That is the line there of convergence. The heavy rain, I should say, is mostly just south of Australia. So it may move northwards. Tasmania is certainly getting it. A few thunderstorms here north of Whyalla, and those thunderstorms go all the way back up towards the Kimberley. We've got windy weather, as I mentioned, here on Wednesday afternoon. So this surge of strong winds goes along the coastline, sort of from Mount Gambier eastwards across the day. Quite fast, moving through Bass Strait with some thunderstorms and rain or showers. So it's going to be moving pretty quickly, but there could be some damaging winds for a time as that moves on through. We'll just have to wait another day or so to lock that in. It's still another couple of days away. And we've also got windy weather all along the mountains, the ranges, right up to the west of Sydney in the Blue Mountains there as those nor'westers come on through. So hot weather will be replaced by cooler weather as that southerly arrives. And on Thursday, temperatures are down over Tasmania. The polar boundary returns north of Hobart, so you'll feel the temperature down there for you. The winds start to ease though. There is some good news. We've got a bit of low pressure around New South Wales and on the edge of high pressure for Victoria, which means still some wet weather is likely there, but the pale blue means it's not going to be a huge amount based on the look of the 24-hour rainfall map here. Still pretty dry in Queensland, but very hot still for many of you, especially sort of Brisbane and northwards of that, I should say. As you go just south of it, you might start to notice the temperature dropping as you go into the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales. A lot of low pressure from the Northern Territory right through to central parts of Western Australia. So that's just going to produce a bit of instability. You may get some showers that form from that. It looks more likely here on Friday before the next big high from the Indian Ocean arrives. Dredges up another southerly. Could be a bit cold for those of you on the southern coastline of Western Australia. As you go into South Australia, the airflow is a northerly coming down for you. So windy northerlies being wrapped around that low pressure zone. Hot on the South Australia side, colder on the coastal Western Australia side. As you go to the eastern side of the country, temperatures are a lot more temperate around Victoria, New South Wales, the ACT, and even Tassie. Still might be a bit cold to begin with, but overall, not too bad. And you've still got the heat up here around Queensland, although perhaps easing a little bit around Brisbane, just due to a slightly cooler airflow coming out of New South Wales. Pretty close though to that heat. Whether or not it changes a lot, keep up to date with your local forecast. That will give you more detail than I'm giving you here in the bigger picture. Now, as we go to Saturday, the thunderstorms through central Australia, they expand. There is low pressure all over the top half of Australia. That might also see a few heavy showers coming in around the southeast of Queensland. Mostly dry in New South Wales, but as you get into Victoria, South Australia, more low pressure, more instability coming through for you, as you can see here. So that will produce a bit of wet weather. The pale blue is mostly below 5 millimeters in 24 hours. So this is not a major rain event unless you get kind of a thundery fall, and there may be a couple of thundery falls. It's still a little too far out to 100% lock in. And we go to Sunday, and this is definitely a spring-like weather pattern for the southern half of Australia. You've got high pressure just clearing Western Australia, so that's got easterly winds written all over it for the bottom half of Western Australia. Tropical heat in the north, low pressure, not as windy, more likely to see a shower or two, especially over here as you come into the Northern Territory. Thunderstorms, downpours expected on Sunday. But as you come into South Australia, that is a windy southerly blowing right up into the middle part of Australia. And as you go into Victoria, New South Wales, windy southerlies with thunderstorms, showers, temperatures dropping, the polar boundary getting close again to Tasmania. When you go up to Brisbane, you're under the tropical heat. So tropical heat in Queensland with a southerly coming out of New South Wales means there's a bit of action, bit of energy going on there, a dynamic day weather-wise. So just keep an eye on that. It might change around a wee bit. Thunderstorms are certainly looking likely around the southeastern quarter of Australia as we go through into Sunday. So just to end on the rain map, this is what we're expecting between now and Sunday. Most of the rain falling on the west coast of Tasmania and the northwest area, where you could be seeing 50 millimeters or more over the coming week. And also around Victoria, some good rainfall totals in there for those that need it, anywhere between 15 and 25 millimeters. Similar story for South Australia and some populated areas around Perth and Bunbury as well. So there's a bit of energy around, but Queensland's still looking fairly dry. Not very much rain coming in for those very dry areas, especially in the southeast. That's all from me for today. See you again tomorrow, Tuesday, with our next Australia Only update.